This is the constitution that is supposed to bind us together and give us a sense of belonging. And the question I have today is that the government we have today, the president we have today, is he respecting, upholding this constitution? Section 103, 104, 106 talks about the president being able to obey, respect, and uphold the constitution. It talks about the responsibilities of ministers, the vice president, and the president. The vice president and ministers cannot hold any two public office. We are aware that the vice president is the minister of health, thereby that is against the constitution. And this has been like that for the past 5 years. My question to the nation is, do we want to give him another 5 years of disrespecting the constitution, not holding and obeying the supreme law of the nation? Do we do that? I believe that the constitution requires an individual who is going to take the oath of office and understand and be able to interpret this constitution for the betterment of our nation, the development of our nation. I also believe that the constitution itself must be changed, because the constitution allows the president to interfere with traditional leadership. I believe that traditional leaders must be independent of the state and represent the people. I also believe that the ministers, the executive, must be independent and be held accountable by Parliament. When ministers are part of Parliament, when they are members of Parliament, they can't be held accountable. And that separation of responsibilities must be separated. And hence we have found that as a nation, we are swimming in corruption, unemployment, because the ministers who are also members of Parliament cannot hold themselves accountable. So the constitution, part of the sections, they are in conflict with each other. And we have a government that I failed to be able to observe that. We have people who are legal in the executive who have failed to understand that the constitution, certain sections are in conflict with each other. When I become president of Zimbabwe, I'll make sure that the constitution is rewritten by the people and that the executive can be held accountable. Ministers cannot be members of Parliament because they are conflicted. And hence they could not explain the 15 billion that went missing. They cannot explain the underdevelopment in the country. If you are a minister of local government, but you are also a member of Parliament, how do you then go to your constituents and say there is under-service delivery in this constituency when you are the minister yourself? I'm sure you would agree with me. And it is time now for Zimbabweans to be able to choose a leader who is going to respect and uphold the constitution, to choose a leader who is going to ensure that the constitution make us all belong, give us a sense of rights, and make sure that all of us, we are equal above the law. And today, once more, I'm going to take the opportunity to introduce you to some of our members of parliament downstairs. We're going to drive around Harare to just see in what state the country is in. I don't need to tell all of you because we are aware of the dilapidation, the lack of service in the country. You've got more service stations being built than clinics in this town and across the country. And that is really the result of an uncaring, irresponsible government. And our government is going to do the best to make sure we serve you. So come 2023, I appeal to all Zimbabweans to be able to call onto their sixth sense and vote for Free Zim Congress. Vote for me to be the first citizen, but the citizen who is going to serve first, the citizen who is willing to be able to make sure that we rescue ourselves from destroying our next generations of young men and women. Thank you very much. And it is time. Zimbabweans have seen the truth. They feel the truth. They know the truth. That the ruling party that has been there for 43 years is for themselves, the elites, and the politicians. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Yes, I have a question. My name is Marshall Banda from Zimbabwe. I understand you are building 10 MPs.
We have 9 MPs we've managed to field, of which 45 are female candidates.
If it so happens that you win this election, do you not have any fears that you're going to impeach this going to field all the MP candidates in all constituencies?
No. It depends basically on what we're going to propose and the strategy. If the strategy is inclusive and it makes sense, I don't see any MP who wants a better Zimbabwe opposing, I think, what we have for our country. Yes, Mr. Ndoko, you have a question?
Okay. My question is, some political parties are complaining about the electoral level playing field, where they're saying that ZANU is already blocking them in the rural area and that some will not receive the voters for. Are you not worried that the environment is not safe for a free and fair election?
We're extremely worried. The level is not fair. Is not leveled in terms of the campaign in the territory. Certainly, I think this has been the hallmark of the ruling party, where they ensure that political parties and leaders are not free to campaign freely across the country. So it's no surprise, because I think they're pretty much aware that the time is nigh. People have seen and people understand the objectives of the current government. So certainly the level is not free and is not fair. But nonetheless, I think we as Zimbabweans have to work hard that against all odds, we need to vote them out of power.
Okay, maybe a follow-up from that. Participated in the 2018 elections. Any lessons that you are going to implement now? How different is going to be your campaign now with what people saw in 2018? Well,
the campaign basically this time, I think we're going across the country. We're going to do tours of all the provinces, and in August we're going to have rallies. So I think that's really the difference we have from 2018. I think we are better prepared. We understand the challenges, but we're not going to mourn, because I think unless if we really decide to say, as Zimbabweans, let's stand up for the voiceless, we're not going to effect any change. That's it.
Okay, besides advocating for the rewriting of the constitution and maybe promising to change certain levels in the country, what else do you tell Zimbabweans? why should they vote?
So the country right now needs a person who understands finance. All our problems stems from finance. You need to be able to understand how to allocate capital. You need to understand how to make project viable. Currently, we got the land, and I said this last time, but Zimbabweans are not being empowered. We have the Chinese, the Russians, and Belarus that are being empowered in the farms, and our people are being moved again, forcibly removed again. We need to create new industries that is based on renewable energy. Zimbabwe is the largest holder of lithium in Africa, the 10th in the world, with lots of battery or energy-related resources. So how do we create an energy mix of solar, hydro, and coal-driven so that we are able to power our industries, our farms, and the schools? We need to make sure that Zimbabweans have a sense of belonging. Our facilities are deteriorating, and certainly our education is also deteriorated. We will stop immediately corruption, which I'll talk about in my next press conference, because we have got an extractive system of governance that is not giving to the people, but just extracting from the people. That is going to come to an end. Those are the things we're promising Zimbabweans, that you're going to get a servant leadership, where we are here to serve you rather than for the people to serve us. And that's the difference. If the current government cannot interpret the current constitution, including parliament that has failed to hold the executive, that no executive can hold any two public offices, yet we still have that in Zimbabwe. Also, the constitution said the president must appoint ministers based on their capacity to execute their functions. And it's not the case.
Talking of empowerment and the removal of citizens from their places where they stay, especially in the lower areas, how are you going to address that? Are you going to reverse what is at present once the Zimbabweans vote you into power?
So they've created an environment where if a new government comes in, and that's why we need to get them out quickly, then the international community is going to say there is instability of policy. Now we need to make sure that whichever government comes in, the interests of Zimbabweans must remain first. Because international investors are going to say, well, there are changes now, this is what we're going to do. But we're going to be smart about it. We're not going to say all of a sudden everybody must go. But we need to be able to understand and engage those companies to say, what is the benefit to our people? If you look at the current president of Botswana, he's just renegotiated the agreement between De Beers and the government of Botswana in terms of how they share the revenue. So we're going to possibly follow the same model, where we'll sit with those firms and be able to say what is being done and is it fair to us as Zimbabweans. Is the revenue sharing fair? We'll engage productively, and we'll make sure that we reach an amicable decision. But certainly beneficiation has to happen in the country, and we have to create jobs. Only when we create jobs, we'll be able to develop as a country. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm willing to. If I heard correctly, you said you have 9 representatives for the National Assembly. And previous elections in the country have seen that Zimbabweans vote along party lines. And maybe, is there any particular strategy that you have in order to maybe get some of those votes for those who vote along party lines? And of course, looking at the fact that, or maybe you are focusing on the 2028 elections. I don't know.
Well, we're talking about 2023, so we'll talk about 2028 after September. But I think our focus right now is on 2023. My belief is that Zimbabweans have seen what those who have been in government have done. Their track record is clear. they failed to make sure that we've got a stable currency. They failed to make sure that we stop the immigration or the movement of people out of the country. So they've continued. Zimbabweans are moving out of the country in droves to seek greener pastures elsewhere, and in particular even from the former colonizer. That shows that the current government, those who are in government, both in parliament and in executive, they have failed. And Zimbabweans know that. Yes, sir.
The parties that you say have failed, most of them are filled in full range of candidates, right, from council up to parliament. I mean, are you going to work with this given if you win elections, given that you only have 19 seats?
100%, but you see, that was the power of the incumbent. So what, you see, when the kick of a dying horse is always very strong. That's why they gave the MPs 40,000. People can't earn in 40 years. They gave MPs, I think, 300,000, judges lots of money when we don't have hospitals. What I'm saying to you is my proposition is so compelling that any normal Zimbabwean in government and out of government is going to support what we're proposing.
Okay. My question would probably Zimbabweans want to know what we have done, because we have two candidates, two maybe main candidates. With Ms. Nelson Advocate Chamisa on one end and President Makamba on one end. What is it that we have done different, probably in your life or in your family, to your kids, to society? What have you been doing that is different, which has not been done by all these candidates that can make you sell?
I think, as I said in the past, so those in ZANU PF, in particular the leaders from the liberation struggle, have never worked. They have survived on donor money during the liberation struggle. After the liberation struggle, they've survived on taxpayers' money. Now, they've never created anything, and hence, they don't understand the process of value creation. I think I'm a social worker, I'm a businessman, I'm a social worker. I love sports, I believe in sports. On the 29th of July, I'll be joining young people running a 10-kilometer marathon. So I think I've done quite a lot for young people to be able to make sure that they can relate to me. I'm a sports person, I'm a business person, I'm a farmer. So for me, I think it's a lot easier to communicate with anybody, whether it's in the academia, whether it's in writing. I mean, I like writing, and I like research and development. I'm a student, and I think anybody who seeks to increase their body of knowledge, they are able to understand what I'm trying to do to make Zimbabwe better. Right. Thank you.
Maybe intellectual. In short, Busha, ngatisanga mchidini kuti vana veZimbabwe vange vachikuchuza mutungamiri wenyika. Ndezvipi zvamunovaitira kana muchinge mapinda panyanga?
Tiri kuti avo vari muhurumende vakauya pamberi pedu, takaona basa ravakaita, asi basa racho zvizhinji zvavakaita hazvina kugutsa mhuri yeZimbabwe. Saka tiri kuti isu vagoni vebasa takuuya kuzopedzesa nokuzadzikisa zvatakarwirwa kuhondo, zvatakaendera kuhondo. Ndo zvatiri kuti tiudze mhuri yeZimbabwe kuti mahospitari hapana akawaka akapera, migwagwa haina kupera, hapana chabatwa chatiri kuti izvo aiwa apa basa rakabatwa zvakanaka rikapera. Mukaona iye zvino kubvira mukuwaka parliament, tinoda vanhu vokunze wenyika kuti vavake parliament. Airport yakavhurwa yezvinezvi haina kuwakwa nemaZimbabweans. Tinonotsvaga vanhu vokunze wenyika kuti vavake airport. Hatifanirwa kudaro. Tiri kuti isu tine vana vakaenda kumatechnicon, kumacolleges, vanokwanisa kuvaka building. Hatinganotore maChinese kuti vavake airport. Isi tine maoko, takapiwa zvese. Saka ndiri kuti isu vagoni vebasa tauya kuzopedzisa zvakatangwa zvakanaka, toputsa zvakashata.
Mataura kuti buku roda kunyorwa munorinyora muchigadzirisa zvipinde zvipi zvakashata pari zvino.
Tinoziva kuti vatungamiriri vedu ma-traditional leaders, vana sabhuku, vana mambo, vana ishe, havafaniri kunge vachisharwa nemutungamiriri venyika vachiapointiwa nokuti izvo vanenge vasiri vakazvimirira vanhu vavo. Ndochokutanga. Chechipiri, tiri kuti masimba omutungamiriri wenyika anopiwa nehurumende yacho haina zvokuti vanhu veZimbabwe ruzhinji rinogona kuti aiwa apa matadza itaiso vanongoita zvavanoda. Saka bumbiro racho harina kupa masimba kuvanhu, rakapa masimba kuvatungamiriri wehurumende. Toda kuti masimba aende kuvanhu, nokuti mukaverenga rinoti izvo masimba apresident anobva muvanhu, but hazviso zviripo paground, hazviso zviri kuitika. Mutungamiriri anoita zvaanoda, minista anoita zvaanoda, vari muparliament havabhadhare matogate, asi vanhu vachibhadhara matogate vanongopiwa mari, hachiziva kuti marona chacha anobhadharwa riini. Saka handifunge kuti tingati i-constitution bumbiro rinoita se rinogutsa munhu wese weZimbabwe. Ndatenda zvangu.